I mean, I was shocked because like I've watched some of his content before. But I think what shocked me more is like how he was brutally killed.
Eventually that wears off.
Yeah, of course.
Eventually
Yeah.
you get used to each other, and the habits start to annoy rather than entice. All of my kids are great people, and I have no doubt whatsoever that God loves them. I don't need them to be part of this church. The world will only be a peaceful place when every single one of us can defeat that enemy. Hi everybody, it's David here, Swedenborg Community, Victoria. It's a great privilege to have Natalia with me from Misguided Pilgrim.
Yes.
Welcome. You are my first live face-to-face interview, which is really nice to do, a nice experiment. So thank you for being my guinea pig. And look forward to how our conversation works out today.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here with you, David. So today we'll be talking a bit about Charlie Kirk's ideas. However, firstly, we will look at my video, If We Live by the Sword, Do We Perish by the Sword? Where we will be just, doing a discussion on Matthew chapter 26, verse 52, and making a connection to the recent assassination of Charlie James Kirk and Paul the Apostle.
Yep. Now, before we get into the video, what I want to just ask you is, prior to the assassination, had you heard of Charlie Kirk? Did you know of his work?
Yes, I have. A bit vaguely, actually.
Okay.
I found some of his videos where he was debating with students 2 years ago.
Okay.
And initially I simply thought that he was a bit of a stir, like a provocateur. I didn't really think of him that much, to be frank. And I think it was until he talked a bit about Christian marriage, and some of his words I can sort of like resonate with when it comes to sort of explaining how men and women have like their biblical roles, and they ought to fulfill that according to what Paul and Titus said in the Bible. However, I understand that some of his other opinions, especially about guns, and which is more prevalent in America.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Like that's, controversial. Like people are upset about him, and also the stuff that he talked about transgenderism and such. Yeah.
I mean, I imagine a lot of his views on marriage were probably not very widely accepted either, to be quite honest. Alongside all of the stuff he says about transgenderism and whatnot.
Exactly.
That very conservative understanding of what marriage is.
I mean, he's coming from, I'm not sure if he's Episcopal or like, I know that he's an evangelical Christian, and he belongs in that mainstream, ideology that men are men and women are women, and he wants to bring that back, to restore that tradition that was in like feudal Western society. Yeah. And so I'm actually curious, like, what Swedenborg has to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Reason I asked my question about whether you'd heard of Charlie Kirk, I hadn't.
Right.
I had never heard of Charlie Kirk until we got the news of the assassination.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Charlie Kirk is everywhere.
Right.
And one of the things that it strikes me about the assassination is the guy attempted to silence Charlie Kirk. He did anything but. In reality, he made Charlie Kirk a folk hero, effectively. Whether you agreed with him or not, he was a guy who was standing up and was killed for his beliefs. And, he becomes a Christian martyr. Yeah. And so he's elevated Charlie Kirk. So he's a complete idiot. And to me, it just shows you gun violence actually doesn't solve anything, certainly not the way you think it's going to. If you pick up a gun and, kill someone for what they're saying, it's not going to work. So that's what I really took from it. As I say, as a 57-year-old, never heard of Charlie Kirk in my life, and then suddenly he's everywhere. I think it's diminished a bit now, hasn't it? I'm not hearing quite so much.
It's been 2 months since the incident.
Yeah.
But I still see a lot of, a lot of what he said in Instagram Reels and YouTube as well. Some people even mentioned that the death was perhaps symbolic. The fact that he was, like the bullet actually went to his throat. It could have been other places. Yeah, some people thought that was like, in a way, silencing free speech.
Okay.
But there are theories that he might or might not have worn body armor.
Okay.
And that the bullet actually deflected. Like somebody said it was meant to be shot like right through the chest and the neck.
Okay.
Yeah, it went in the neck, yeah.
Yes, all right. I guess you could read anything into wherever the bullet happened to strike, I dare say. Okay, so let's watch a bit and see what you've got to say.
Yep.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Metalia, also known as Misguided Pilgrim, relating to the recent death of American political activist who's also conservative, Charlie Kirk. Honestly, I was pretty shocked when I saw the news regarding his assassination, simply because I never thought that I would be living in a world today where, I mean, it has been going on, honestly, like since the 70s or even older, some high-profile people whose lives were ended simply because they were against the opposing side. Their adversary wanted them eliminated because they were an obstruction to the New World Order or something like that.
So, yeah, I mean, gun violence has been with us
for a long time, actually.
Forever, really. This is one of my challenges, I think, with the whole idea that of the right to possess firearms somehow gives us freedom. There's the whole argument about guns don't kill people, people do.
Yeah, I've heard that many times.
But, what's the difference between a gun and a car? Right?
Exactly, yeah.
A gun is designed to at least injure, if not kill. Whereas a car is intended for transport. It's designed for its purpose. So a gun is being used well when it does kill. True. A car is being used well when it transports people and does not kill. And that, to me, suggests a fundamental difference between the two. That's my attitude to it. I don't know what you think.
Well, in fact, last night I just watched a video where Charlie talked about mass shootings, and he was comparing that analogy of driving, right? Okay. And guns. So people drive, like as you said, for transport, to run errands, to take them to destinations. Yeah. But it doesn't stop the fact that some people might misuse it.
Yes.
People might drift, they might speed and actually kill somebody with a car.
Sure.
So that exists, but it doesn't mean that cars should be completely stopped, their manufacture should be stopped.
That's right. Yeah. And for me, the difference is the purpose for which it is created. And that is a huge difference. I don't know whether he addresses that idea.
As in the guns?
Well, yeah, I mean, the purpose for which a gun is created
right, yep.
Suggests to me we treat it in a fundamentally different way than we treat cars,
Oh, yeah, I see your point now.
You see?
Yep, yeah.
So the idea of the possession of a gun, I understand its use in defence, yeah? Okay, so a defensive use to be able to ward off a hostile threat.
Yep.
I get that, but really, in our country today, how many hostile threats do we really credibly have outside of someone possessing a firearm?
Very low.
very, very low. Look, I'm grateful to live in Australia where we have tight gun laws.
Yeah.
And I've had friends who say, "Oh, you know, you're okay with the police carrying guns and not everybody else." Actually, I am. I am. I lived in the UK too, where the police did not carry guns. As a general rule, they would call in a team who are armed if they needed to, but your regular Bobby on the street would not be carrying a firearm. That was certainly whilst I was living there.
Yeah. Okay.
I kind of think that the presence of a gun escalates a situation, even just the presence of it. Yeah, and I think this is possibly how the UK police operate. The fact that they don't carry the gun means that they don't represent a threat to the people they're talking to in the same way that an Australian or an American policeman does, perhaps.
I mean, I'm aware that people in Australia, probably poachers or, like hunters, they use it to hunt animals. And that's different.
Yeah.
It still kills,
Yeah.
but it's not the same as killing people, I guess. I mean, well, it still lives up to its function, isn't it? Like,
it's still being used for its function, and someone who can use a gun correctly is capable of killing.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, someone who uses a car correctly is capable of killing, but will do everything in their power not to. For me, that's a huge difference between those.
I watched this video. Charlie was on stage, and he was talking about how, like, liberty comes with a price.
Yeah, okay.
It's a pretty big idea, and I mean, personally, it's a bit hard for me to swallow because I don't like gun violence myself. I don't advocate for it, and the fact that he was sort of saying how to murder is not the same as to kill, because with murder, like, you are doing it with intent. And with killing, as you said, you're doing it in self-defense. So he was saying how, like, murder and kill, they're like different Hebrew words, although he didn't mention what the Hebrew words are. And the only law that's in all 5 books of the Torah is the death penalty. So he was trying to compare that with the Sabbath. The Sabbath is, like, not in all 5 books, but death penalty is, which shows the importance of it in ancient Israel. Yeah, that was what he was essentially saying.
So the question then becomes, just because it's an important factor in ancient Israel, ought it to be this kind of held up as a standard or a bastion of freedom and divine law in our culture? And I'm not entirely sure that holds, really.
Fair enough.
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I looked at theologians like Thomas Aquinas, and he pretty much says the same thing as Charlie. Like, he was saying how to murder versus killing, it lies in intent versus authority. Like, with killing, it's justified. It can be justified by the law.
Okay, so this is the defense of the death penalty.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with murder, as I said, it involves intent. Yeah.
The intent.
Yeah.
Is there any sense of what might be an intent that is worthy of calling it murder?
Grudge, personal issues.
Yeah.
Resentment.
Jealousy, hate, those kinds
anger.
of things. Yeah.
But with killing, it sounds like with killing, it's more official.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I don't know how to describe it, but... Yeah.
So, the idea that's being presented there is that the killing is a consequence, actually, a legal consequence of an action.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, legal. That's a good word to say.
Yeah, all right. Go back to the idea of freedom has a price.
Yeah, he said that.
What is the price of freedom? The price of freedom that someone else might die.
Yes. That some people, he was saying in one video how he thinks some gun deaths are worth it. He actually said that. Some gun deaths are worth it to have the Second Amendment that protects other God-given rights. Well, this is an American thing. I'm not sure how Australia does it, you know.
Sure.
So he was referring to like the laws that the founding fathers of America stated, in essence. So that was what led him to say that liberty comes with a cost, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that strikes me is, as an intellectual exercise, that might be a very compelling argument. But when it's your life, that becomes a whole other ballgame.
It is.
You know, am I willing to give up my life for liberty, for freedom? And, okay, I might be. But am I then justified in asking others to make the same sacrifice?
Interesting question.
And I don't think I could stand up and say I am. I say I might make that choice myself, but am I prepared to ask others to make the same? I step back from that, I think.
I think, you know, he comes from the point of view where he's assuming that other men should sort of follow that example, you know, that example of chivalrous or a revolutionary like Martin Luther King, like John Kennedy and other big figures that were killed for their beliefs. And he was saying how like he was sort of like trying to persuade the young conservative men in America how if they want to fight for freedom, then they ought to risk their lives in many ways, like participating in Turning Point USA organizations, speaking out. But one of my friends actually said that, well, there's a quote by Christ which says, I don't know if it was Christ who said it or Peter. He was saying how like we should pray in private.
Oh, that's Jesus.
Yeah,
yes.
Jesus. Yeah, Jesus said that. So to pray in private means to kind of, sort of, can you elaborate on it? Like,
So it's about not making a huge display of your religion. It's about your own personal relationship with the divine.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really the core of it. He's talking. It's in the Sermon on the Mount. It's funny, I'm referring to it on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
It's in the Sermon on the Mount, and he's talking about the Pharisees who pray on street corners. You know, he says they have their reward. People have noticed how religious they are, and, you know, so they get to be held in higher esteem by other people who say, "Oh, look, there's a very religious person." But he's saying, no, that's not what it's about. It's about the religion of the heart. It's about one's own relationship with the divine, irrespective of whether other people see it. You know? And
of course, like that's kind of in contrast to what Charlie's mission is, isn't it? I mean,
in what way? How does that contrast with what Charlie was doing?
I think the idea of having public recognition of your faith, using Christian rhetoric to kind of persuade others to follow you, whether or not that's his intention anyway. I mean, I noticed that with Charlie, he used a lot of big concepts and a lot of binary stances and things.
Okay.
You know, like, I think he was saying like a lot of things to do with like making or breaking Western civilization. Like if we don't fight for our freedom, then we might lose that spiritual, you know, formation that has been in, Western civilization for a while.
Wow, okay. I'd actually argue the opposite in a way, that if we fight for our freedom in that way, we still might lose our spiritual tradition, the real core of it, you know. So this is one of the reasons why I'm using that particular passage about, you know, praying on the street corners, praying in the inner room.
Yeah.
Because what we do is we externalize our enemies. We see the threats without. We very rarely see the threat within.
Yeah.
So when we talk about ideas like the price of liberty, the price of liberty is not something that I need to impose on someone else. The price of liberty is actually something I need to pay myself, you know, within my own life. That's where it really lies. It's about recognising the fact that people might do things that I might not like.
Yeah.
And I have to live with that. That's the price of liberty, I think.
Do you think faith needs to be made, I mean, publicly, going to different countries, being a missionary, kind of? I mean, a lot of the early, you know, colonists, they were like Christians, right? I mean, they delivered the word of God to different countries, trying to sort of, it's like in the book of Canon, you know, when the book of Joshua, sorry, where he tried to convert the people of Canaan to Christians.
Yeah, I'm not sure Joshua tried to convert the people of Canaan. I think he was just trying to wipe them out, to be quite honest. There was no negotiation as far as I can see in that book.
Well, I remember there was like, this prostitute that like he attempted to help her escape.
Rahab, yes.
Yeah, Rahab, yeah.
Rahab. But she was used as a spy. You know,
yeah, that's true.
she let the people into the city so that, you know, so that he could conquer them. There was no attempt to try and convert the people of
Sorry,
Jericho.
I don't know how I got that idea. But,
Okay, so go back to your original question. Bear in mind you're speaking to someone who's paid to be a preacher. And it's one of the questions that I have asked myself on occasion, you know, how serious am I about my religious faith? How real is it to me? Or am I just drawing a salary and doing what I'm supposed to, you know? So it is, you know, it's a question. And I think if a preacher, a minister doesn't ask that question of themselves, there's probably an issue. But anyway, how do I answer it?
take your time.
I will. My religion, my spirituality has to be lived out in my life. It has to make a tangible effect, have a tangible effect on the way I deal with people, not just on a Sunday morning when I'm standing up the front there preaching or leading a service, but, you know, the way I treat my wife, the way I treat people I meet in the street, my driving habits. You know, it's all of that is, it's grist to the mill, as they say. You know, it's opportunity to reflect, to learn about oneself, to become a better human being, which at the end of the day, for me, is what religion and spirituality is all about.
So I guess that's where Swedenborg differs a bit with the typical mainstream evangelical Christian, isn't it? I mean, because I do see the tendency that with a lot of mainstream Christians, they kind of externalizes the enemy. They call like, oh, Satan is, you know, out there trying to prey on you, and he exists. He's actually a real being. Like he's not just some inner demon. Whereas I think with Swedenborg, he's more, isn't it, like devil is in our hearts and
absolutely.
Yeah, kind of subjective, isn't it?
Absolutely, that's right. Yeah. So a thought that I was playing with in regard to Sunday, which I'm actually not using on Sunday, but it's worth raising here, talking about Jesus' temptation in the wilderness. And here you have this conversation between Jesus and the devil.
Yeah.
Right? So can you imagine you've got these two figures sitting in some remote location in a desert somewhere having this conversation? Is that really what took place? So one of the thoughts that I had is that, you know, we don't believe in a personal devil.
Yeah.
Here is Jesus speaking to the devil within.
Mm.
Now, a lot of people won't like that idea, you know, that the devil is, you know, an aspect of Jesus' inner being. But we can certainly relate it to ourselves. I mean, there is played out in Scripture the drama of the internal conversation we all have between what is divinely and true and real and what we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're looking at Psalm 91, which is the scripture that the devil quotes to Jesus in part of this temptation. You see, so there's the devil misusing scripture.
Mm.
And this is how it can happen to us. You know, we use scripture to justify our own ends. And the thing is, the devil, as the prince of this world, is externalizing everything. Whereas Jesus' response to his quote was, you shouldn't test God. It's a much more, there's a responsibility to be carried out, and it falls on me, you know. So yes, very much so. It's the internal that's where the enemy is.
Yeah. I mean, I have fallen a bit of a victim initially, you know, when I found out that Charlie Kirk died. I mean, I was shocked because, like, I've watched some of his content before. But I think what shocked me more is, like, how he was, just brutally killed. And he was kind of to the point radicalized that he just had to be gunned down, I think. But I think I realized that to some degree I may have probably idolized him a bit. Although initially not really knowing deeper what he actually said. And after I found out in the rest of his videos, like what he talked about liberty and guns and that, I realized that, there are some things that I may not completely agree with this guy, but like, I can see why, like, I wouldn't agree with him being gunned down.
Look, at the end of the day, he did not deserve to die.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that should be pretty plain to everybody. He did not deserve to die. He's a guy who had a lot of ideas we might disagree with. But he was engaging people in conversation, from what I gather, and making people think. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, that's part of my job here, is actually to make people think. It's not for me to tell people what to think, but for them to explore ideas they've perhaps not been exposed to before and process it for themselves. I mean, this is something that you do on your channel as well, isn't it, really?
To have the culture of open discussion and debate, I suppose,
Do you get a lot of people commenting?
Not a lot, but in person, yes, I have some people actually messaging me saying how they want to, you know, have a Zoom discussion, or even just face-to-face. Yeah. And I have been invited to talks as well, to give a talk. I've given like 2 so far in, I'm not sure if you've heard of the Sea of Faith organization. Yeah, so they talk about like anything, it's like spirituality and history, politics. It's run by David Miller. And I've given talks there, and also in another Sea of Faith, like smaller group that meets in Carlton Library. Like every 3rd Thursdays,
I think that's good to be doing. All of that work, and so that work that Charlie was doing was good. I think that's really valuable. And any discussions we can have, even if you violently disagree with someone, there's a saying somewhere in the Bible, iron sharpens iron, and it's all about the clash of swords, basically. Really. And the intent is that where we meet ideas, opinions that we disagree with, the reality is it actually helps us sharpen our own sense of things. It either changes our mind, or we think of arguments to counter it, and then they think of arguments to counter back. And so we come together to a better appreciation of reality, irrespective of whether one or the other wins as such, you know. So it's a useful process to be engaged in.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm on this journey.
Yeah. Again, the guy who shot him was an idiot. That's all I can say.
Well, he claimed that it was because some hatred cannot be negotiated. According to some of the conversations in the phone, he felt defensive or protective of his other partner, who's like a transgender guy, and so he had a grudge on Charlie, and thought that, you know, by killing him, then it would end the you know, the hatred against transgender people. Yeah.
I mean, my heart goes out to him. I had not heard that, and I can understand the pain that causes.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, here when we had the not the referendum, what do they call it? The plebiscite about gay marriage.
Oh yeah.
This was one of the things that was being talked about at the time. The fact that people find that kind of discussion out in the open air very painful, and I can understand that.
Wasn't that in 2017?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, I actually think that in Asia, or Japan, Thailand, like gay, you know, like gay marriage, and the idea that you're not conforming to the sort of, you know, status quo, and that, like, it's more accepted, even though it's still subtle. And I think Thailand recently, like, they officialized gay marriage.
Okay.
Although before that, they have been, accepting of that culture for a long time. And mind you, this is actually a Buddhist country, right? But yet, the society is very much, like, they intermingle, you know, with one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that's interesting. That I think the West is a bit behind, in my opinion.
Again, I think it's the externalization of an enemy. I think that's what the Western society has been very bad at in reality, is externalizing the enemy. It is so easy to think all of my problems are someone else's responsibility. They've caused it, and all I need to do is wipe them out, put them in jail, restrict their freedom, and it'll all be sweet. And that's just such an illusion, really. And this is the way we've conducted business in the West.
I mean, Charlie wasn't CEO, so he was, of course, like a, you know, businessman in a way as well.
CEO of what?
Of Turning Point USA.
Yeah, well, that was just a propaganda machine, basically, wasn't it?
I don't really know the full details of that organization.
Yeah.
But I know that it's funded by, like, the conservative, you know, politicians.
Yeah.
To kind of spread, like, you know, fundraising for holding campaigns, open debates in schools and colleges and that. Yeah.
I mean, from that point of view, he was saying the right kind of thing that a particular group of people were prepared to pay for, as far as I can see. I don't have a high opinion, particularly, of that kind of thing. He certainly achieved a lot. He seems to have been a clever talker. I'm aware of the fact he's like 2 months younger than my eldest daughter.
Oh, okay.
And you know, so in a relatively short life, achieved a great deal.
Yeah.
But you know, I think a great deal of what he did was really just propaganda for a conservative way of looking at the world.
I mean, he actually had the president's ear. Yeah.
So to do that at, you know, 31, 32, that's, you know, I certainly haven't done it by 57. So, you know.
No, don't say that. Well, each of us have different journeys.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
And that's actually what I want to talk about when we talk about marriage, because, I mean, how do I say this? Like he's achieved a lot. He has this certain, you could say, like choleric temperament. You know, he needs to be around a lot of people, and he kind of devotes his life to a social cause. While some people, like, you know, are perhaps a bit more reserved in doing that. They don't go out in the open and debate with students using blunt rhetoric. And so I do wonder, like, some of the things he said about, you know, like, young men should get married and, like, have as many kids as we can and that sort of thing. Like, there are people, of course, who suffered from abuse, like from a marriage. Initially, you know, people didn't reveal their true selves until after they are in the marriage. And then later on, you find out that the marriage is not worth it. Or some women in Korea who have been comfort women, if you've heard about that story.
I don't know what comfort women are.
Oh, they're essentially women that are, like, stationed to, you know, take turns in pleasing the soldiers, the Japanese soldiers.
Oh, okay.
They were, colonizing Korea at the time. So these women, as I've watched some of the documentary, they're actually traumatized from that. Like, they were kind of like just used as objects to be sexual with the soldiers. And they didn't want to get married.
And that's entirely understandable.
Yeah, but
Really?
I really can't imagine the pain of the woman.
Yeah, because, you know, and presumably they're not with the same soldier. It's with several men.
And they take turns.
And those men would not care about those women, generally speaking.
And they're like, they could be as young as 14 as well.
The girls?
Yeah. 14, like, barely legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Well, in this country, not legal.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a marriage.
Exactly.
It might legally be a marriage. You might have your bit of paper, your certificate that's signed. It might be, you know, you might sign it off in front of a marriage celebrant and do all the right things, tick all the right boxes, but it's not a marriage. Again, from a Swedenborgian point of view, a marriage is an internal thing. Whether a couple is legally married or not is kind of irrelevant. I mean, look, I've lived fairly conservative values. You know, my wife and I did not sleep together before marriage. We promoted that with our kids. Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
And I've always upheld those sorts of ideals, typically speaking. But yeah, a marriage is an internal thing. You know, so Swedenborg talks about angels in heaven being married.
Oh.
He talks about male and female together, and you know, he relates encounters in the spiritual world where he sees in the distance a single angel walking towards him, but as they come closer together, they actually clarify into two individuals. So they appear at a distance as one, and as they come closer, he can see that they are two.
Okay. Yeah.
And that expresses the united nature of their relationship, which is just beautiful. Almost to the point of sharing a single soul. That's a marriage.
Yeah.
You know? And so often what we see and experience in this world just isn't. You know?
Yeah, I think we're living in an increasingly atomized society. People are disconnected. Like, I mean, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Like, we have technology that aids us in, you know, getting people closer. But it often ends up in just alienating people.
Yeah. Well, you go into any cafe and you see a couple of people sitting down at a table together and they're looking at their phones, texting somebody else.
Or if they post something heartfelt, let's say, like somebody died somebody close to them. A lot of the people, they just tap the Instagram stories, like they just scroll past, they tap. We've become passive consumers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So how do we get out of that? How do we change it?
I feel like people need to reflect more on their actions. I mean, like just kind of give themselves more emotional space. Maybe withdrawing a bit from doom scrolling.
Yeah.
Or looking at too much, social media, and actually, instead of having a bunch of, because like you're sending a lot of messages to your brain, like all of the content that's being shown in Instagram, which is random most of the time.
Yeah.
And kind of just exiting the app and like, allowing yourself to concentrate on one thing. Like let's say my post shows up and I'm talking about Charlie Kirk. And I think it's useful to have maybe just watching that 1 or 2 reels and then like exiting and then come back to it later in the day rather than doing it 4 hours in one go. Because I think that's what a lot of people are doing right now. It
is so very addictive.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take you long to realise that, really. If you're self-aware, the fact is, I have the same experience. You have something you've got to do. I've got to reply to an email or something. I've got to do this. So I get onto my phone, open up, and then you're kind of hooked. It's almost straight away. You're hooked. And it's so easy. And then you sit there for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What was I here for again? Oh, yeah, that email. And then eventually you get to it. It's a challenge, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
I saw a meme. It's ironic to say that, but I saw a meme that was talking about getting used to boredom.
Ah, okay.
And using that actually as you're probably better sitting being bored
rather than
you are sitting scrolling your phone.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. And I feel like as human beings, I believe that we're capable of using more of our cognitive thinking abilities rather than just absorbing and consuming things. Like we can create things, can do things, like how you create your discussions about things in the Bible.
Yeah.
And for me, with Misguided Pilgrim, the reason why I created that channel is to devote that culture of intellectual discussion, which is so rare nowadays, I think. But yeah, I think a lot of people my generation now, they actually are more aware. Like they're
starting to wake up, do you think?
Yeah,
to
a little
the need
bit,
to real
actually.
Connection and conversation.
Yeah, like especially about history, things that have been kind of buried, so to speak, initially. I have been like given comments as well, like in person, like why would you want to study history and religion? And it's never too late to
So
study.
why would you study history and religion? What's your answer?
I feel like history and religion, they help me better understand the relationship between human beings, whether the relationship's good or bad. And it kind of allows me to understand how, the culture is formed in that one geographical location or many locations, and how people come about and why they wanted to conquer a nation and establish a civilization. The exchange of resources, trade. Constantine, he was like a Roman emperor. He wanted to. He personally, some people said that he's not really a Christian, but he legalized Christianity because
he used it to great effect, I believe.
Exactly, he was said to be a pagan. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so Christians at the time have the right to worship without being persecuted. But then later on, it turned around the other way. There was another Roman emperor called Theodosius. He officialized Christian religion, and so the pagan temples would be burnt and stuff. So,
and Christianity's been very good at doing that. Boy, oh boy, have we been good at that. Look, I see friends on Facebook who post stuff that I just despair of, to be quite honest.
Oh, what was it about?
Oh, it's Islam. Islam's the one we love to hate.
Yeah, that's another rabbit hole.
So, but you know, my attitude to that, and my attitude to Islam, and especially, you know, after September 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Islam was always on the rise throughout my whole life. So even in the 70s, you know, I think it goes back to the 70s with the original kind of airplane hijackings. Stuff were going on.
Oh, yes, yes.
Islamist extremists started doing that kind of thing then. But I grew up basically a stone's throw from Northern Ireland.
Oh, right.
During a lot of the, you know, those sorts of, there were killings, there was bombings, all sorts of things. I was in Manchester, just about to leave and move out of Manchester on the day the final IRA bomb went off on mainland UK, which was in the centre of Manchester. We were there, we weren't in town at the time, but we were there on that day. So I grew up with the animosity between Protestants and Catholics. Nothing to do with Islam, but it was every bit as hateful, you know, between those two groups.
Yep.
At one stage, I was actually beaten up at school for being Catholic.
Really?
For being Catholic.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I was beaten up at school for being Catholic. I was accused of being Catholic.
That's...
And look, at the end of the day, some kid just decided he didn't like the look of me, so he decided I was Catholic. So he and a couple of mates decided they were going to beat me up.
I didn't realize it's that serious.
Well, it was. It was.
Oh, wow.
And look, I wasn't badly injured or anything, right? I was pretty angry about it at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
But it just, what I was grateful about was it just showed me how completely ridiculous that is. In that you can just look at someone, not like them,
yeah,
for whatever reason,
yeah.
I don't know why, and just decide to use a justification that you entirely make up in your own mind to convince yourself that you're doing the right thing.
Well, that's exactly what happened to Charlie, isn't it? I mean, they kind of demonized him to an extent where they just have to put him down.
Yeah, yeah. That's the enemy. That's the inner enemy. That's what we all need to defeat, you know? The world will only be a peaceful place when every single one of us can defeat that enemy. And there's no, I can't do it for you, you can't do it for me. That's the enemy. There's the devil.
Did Swedenborg ever say, how do we defeat the enemy?
I think Jesus told us how to defeat the enemy.
Right. Okay.
Forgive them, Father, they do not know what they're doing. You know where he said that?
Yeah, I do. I know.
On the cross.
Yeah.
The day we can all do that, we'll have a peaceful world. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately, but, you know, we do our bit.
Well, that shows the importance of redemption. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all carry a cross. I guess.
Do. We do.
I suppose.
We do. Yeah. I do think we probably need to wind up our conversation.
Really?
Yeah, we haven't watched much of your video, but I think it's been a really good conversation.
Yes. We end up going, not off tangent actually, we end up talking about the video and then, yeah, we have the discussion.
I think it's
yeah, if you don't mind, like before we wind up.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to like bring up some things.
Yeah.
Like,
go for it.
I mean, I did touch upon how like, you know, Charlie said men and women have biblical roles. And he was referring to Ephesians Ephesians chapter 5, 22 to 23. 22 to 33, how husbands love their wives like how Christ loves the church. And that the husband has like a bigger role in the family, how he's responsible for the sanctification of his wife, or preserving the spiritual sanctity of his family. And like, you know, he and his wife like would ask each other when he was still alive, like, how can I better serve you as a husband every day? And I think that was actually really sweet. Like, he asked her that. And
so I'm just going to stop you there. That's the thing, isn't it? So the text of the Bible, at the time it's written, is probably written to men. It's probably written for men to read. This is certainly true of Swedenborg's book on marriage, which is called Conjugal Love. It's written for men to read.
Yep.
And there, within the text of the Bible, and as Charlie Kirk practiced it, was the challenge to sanctify the marriage by virtue of his own action. Yeah. So it stimulates him to ask his wife, how can he better serve her? And that's the crux of it.
I see. Okay.
Now, the same's true of her.
Yeah.
How can she serve the marriage better? How can she serve him? So a marriage occurs where both partners are asking that question of themselves.
And yeah, in fact, she did mention Titus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Titus 2 verses 3 to 5, where, urging younger women to love their husbands and children, be the guardian of the house. This is actually the NIV version. It's quite long, so I'm just gonna like summarize it.
Yeah, sure.
And to be busy at home, to be pure, to be kind, subject to their husbands. No one will malign the word of God. You know. Well, very quickly, I also want to ask, like, do you think marriage only works for people with certain temperaments?
I think we grow into being a husband or a wife.
Okay, so it's an ongoing journey.
It is an ongoing journey, and I think it's a challenging one for all of us.
Yeah.
Right? So we have the in love. You know, you meet, you're in love. You get married, and it's a wonderful time, and you're enjoying each other's company, and you know nothing could possibly go wrong, and you are my soulmate, and all this sort of stuff that goes on. Eventually, that wears off.
Yeah, of course.
Eventually, you get used to each other, and the habits start to annoy rather than entice.
There's actually a quote: "Familiarity breeds contempt."
Yes, yes. And that's the point probably where the work begins. Because you've made a commitment to a person, and all that does is it asks you, how serious are you about your commitment?
Yeah.
You know? And you find over the course of a lifetime together, there will be many times where you have opportunity to work on yourself, your own response. So I would say, actually, despite the appearance at the beginning of a marriage, and it all feels wonderful, at the beginning of a relationship, we're not really suited to be a husband or a wife at that point. But we become a husband or a wife through the process of the relationship, if there's that commitment to the relationship together, and the commitment to being prepared to change ourselves actually and what's undesirable about our own nature and our own reaction to events.
Why do you think people, in Australia, I don't think it's just in Australia, to be frank, like de facto marriages are, like common nowadays. Like you can live together for many years, and like they consider that as, marriage, but not on paper. Because they are afraid that once they have gotten married, it would be harder to separate because you have to do the documents and stuff.
In reality, that's an illusion in this country.
Really?
Yeah, I actually just read an article, it was on SBS News, about Chinese women in their 40s and 50s, coming to Australia. Often they are supervising a child at school.
Oh, okay.
Now, if they're divorced and they're looking for a husband, they might not be, but they fall into a de facto relationship with an Australian man without realising that there are actually the same legal protections for a de facto relationship now as there are for marriage.
Interesting.
So if you can establish that you are in a de facto relationship, there's no difference, in fact, in the eyes of the law.
Do you think that, I mean, this is kind of a blunt question, but like, do you think that shows some sort of spiritual decadence in our society?
What's that, the de facto relationship?
Yeah, I guess. Sort of seeing them as equal as like a legal marriage.
I guess there's many answers potentially to that. I think marriages have been abused. At the end of the day, you don't need a piece of paper. That is not what a marriage is, really. And so this process of, the living together, the de facto relationship, kind of, it's because we're seeing through that. And marriages have been abused.
I feel like with marriage, I mean, obviously I'm not married, and it allows us to see parts of ourselves that we initially wouldn't have thought when we're single. Because especially if you have kids, like you would realize that you have that nurturing side of you. You could take care of those kids, and I think you become more selfless, I guess. Like you put more importance to the well-being of your kids than yourself. I mean, that's what mothers are, I think, while the father goes out working, bringing money income to the family.
That's the very traditional view. I think that's changing these days.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely it is. You see a lot more guys doing the shopping. You see a lot more guys pushing a pram on their own down the road than you used to.
Oh, yeah.
So all of that, it's changing, very definitely. But yes, children also, they are part of the journey of self-discovery that marriage and family life becomes.
So do you think it's just normal for people who have lived together for a while, whether it's marriage or not marriage, for them to fall out of love and like separate maybe like in their 50s, and that the kids are the only thing that keep them together?
That happens.
But it's up to them to commit, right? I mean, to whether they want the marriage to work or...
The question's always going to be, how committed are you to making the marriage work? How committed are you both to making the marriage work? One of the things I hear from the Christian right is that it only takes one partner to make that commitment. And I don't think that's true. I think one partner making a commitment to the marriage can convert the other to also renew that commitment. If it's been lost, it's possible, but it's not necessarily the fact. And the only way a marriage really works is where both are committed to the relationship.
Yeah, that kind of gives light, I suppose, to the reality of how people treat marriages these days. I mean, I probably have to talk to the other side, because so far I have interacted with people who have a bit of a dim view on marriage. I feel even people my age. I have this friend of mine, like she was born in Saudi Arabia, but she's Bangladeshi by ethnicity. And her family, of course, being Muslim, would ideally want her to marry young, find a husband, arranged marriage, typical. But she has a sister, older sister, who's in her 30s now. She divorced from her ex and is trying to find a new partner. And so she just believed that, people in today's culture, unless it's an arranged marriage, they just don't really find they don't really know how to sustain love, you know,
Yeah,
according to her.
people don't really understand what love actually is.
Yeah.
There's a great little cartoon. I've seen it several times. Two panels. One is what people think love is, and it's. Have you seen the film The Notebook?
No.
No. So I think it's the cover of The Notebook, which is this couple wrapped in each other's arms, kissing in the rain. You know, this is what people imagine love is.
Yeah, yeah.
And what real love is, it's a woman on the sofa and the guy's got his pants down, showing her a boil on his bum.
Oh my God.
And she's saying, "I think it looks better," you know. And it's so true.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
We have this view of marriage and romance being this wonderful thing all the time. We're always going to be in love with one another, but we're not.
Yeah.
It
We're just
never
human.
happens. We're human. We make mistakes.
Yeah.
We do
feelings fade.
selfish things.
Yeah, we do.
We really selfish things sometimes, and we need to commit to the relationship, both of us, and say, no, I'm in this for the long haul. That's what it's about.
I agree. Yeah.
And look, I would always say, don't get hung up on the bit of paper, on the certificate. Marriages have been abused, and you know, people have experienced awful things within the context of marriage, and awful people. And you do need to protect yourself, you know, and sometimes there does come a point where you have to recognise, okay, I might be committed to the idea of a marriage, but the person to whom I'm married is not.
Yeah.
And you might see that because of the bruises on your arm, or, you know, you certainly want to get out before, you know, there was that guy who set his entire family on fire. You remember that one a couple of years ago? Up in Queensland, I think it was.
I think I did.
You know?
Vaguely.
He had a restraining order.
Oh, did he?
As far as I'm aware, had a restraining order, and she's taking the kids to school, I think, and just douses them all in petrol and sets them alight.
Oh my gosh.
You want to get out before that.
That's horrible.
Yeah. It can be hard to spot. It can be hard to tell, really, when is the point to get out, when is the point to pull the plug and say, no, this is clearly not going to work. Whilst I promote an ideal, I think marriage is a good thing. It can work well, but it can also be really horrible. And you've got to be sensible. You do actually have to look after yourself as part of the deal.
Yeah.
And if you're not with someone who's going to look after you, you don't want to be there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think it's good that, you know, you've sort of devote your life to this, you know, ministry, Swedenborg ministry, and like your wife is part of it as well. And I assume your daughters and your sons are as well.
Not at all.
Are they?
Not at all.
Really?
No.
I know that. What's his name again? I forgot his name.
Alex?
Yeah, he likes going out and dressing up, doesn't he?
What do you mean?
I mean, like he goes on like shows and like he performs.
Oh yeah, he's a performer. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people have a definition, their own definition of what living a Christ-like life is. You know.
I have to say, I must throw this in for any Christian conservatives watching.
That's fine.
My children do not come to church. Especially our eldest daughter is very avowedly atheist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally. All of my kids are great people.
Yeah.
All of my kids are great people. And I have no doubt whatsoever that God loves them. And that when they die and they go into the spiritual world, they'll find their way into heaven. I don't need them to be part of this church to be absolutely convinced that they're loved by God. And for me, that's one of the most fundamental things about why I'm still here working in this church. I don't need people turning up on Sunday to know that God loves them. I don't need people turning up on Sunday to know that they're going to get to heaven. Or they can get to heaven.
Yeah.
It's their choice at the end of the day. God doesn't send them one way or another. It's their choice. That for me is real. And that's why I do what I do.
It's as Swedenborg said, yeah.
Yeah. I think we do need to call it a day.
Okay, no worries.
I think it's been a fabulous conversation.
It has, yeah.
And I think we have to do it again.
Yeah.
And it would be good to have some more people here too, I
Yeah,
think.
of course, like 3 or 4. But who would want to join us?
Oh, well, maybe we put out the invitation and we see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think we should do it again. Yeah.
I'd love to come here, more often. Yeah.
Thanks, Natalia.
No
it has been a genuine pleasure to have you here.
No
and
problem.
talk to you.
Yeah.
And
Me too. I'm honored to be invited.
we will definitely do this again.